Hi everyone, my name is Mo Stein and I am a German journalist and I like politics and elections all over the world. That's why I'm doing this podcast where I give you a view into the German federal elections this fall. This is What's Up Germany, let's go. Hello and welcome to What's Up Germany, this brand new podcast where I want to give you a view into Germany's general election on September 26th. My name is Mo Stein and I am a German myself and a journalist, and I really like politics. I'm interested in elections all over the world, and that's why I decided to start this podcast for people who are interested in German federal elections this fall. I really hope you like it, and if you do, please subscribe. In this very first episode, I want to talk about what Germany is electing and why you should even care about these elections. So let's start with why you should even care about this. Well, first of all, according to Statista, Germany is the fourth biggest economy in the world with a GDP of $3.8 billion. Germany also has an important role in the European Union. With 83 million inhabitants, Germany is the most populated country within the EU and therefore has the most seats in the European Parliament. Another thing that makes this election so special is the fact that things are changing. For the first time in the history of the Federal Republic, there is no office-holding chancellor running, with Angela Merkel not running for re-election after her fourth term as chancellor. And another first time ever, there are 3 candidates for the chancellorship instead of just 2. So these are some facts why this election is interesting, but what exactly is elected? Well, Germans, if they're older than 18, are allowed to vote on the Bundestag. The Federal Republic of Germany has a 2-chamber parliamentary system like the US or the UK. The first chamber is the Bundestag. It's comparable to the House of Representatives or the House of Commons in the UK. The second chamber is the Bundesrat, and it's filled with members of the state governments. So it's not elected directly. The Bundestag is up for election every 4 years with quite a complicated proportional representation system. That means that a party gets as much seats as it got percentage. But it's more complicated than that. There is a threshold of 5%, with every party underneath the threshold not being part of the Bundestag. This was installed to prevent small extremist parties to get into power. But sometimes candidates from smaller parties can get into the Bundestag as independent MPs. But how is this possible? Every voter has not 1 but 2 votes in Germany. The first vote is for a local candidate, pretty much like in the UK, where they choose their local MP, but the second vote is for a party. And these second party votes make up the percentage of seats that each party gets in the Bundestag. And the first votes say which people will sit in those seats. But Germans can and often will split the vote, so there's a lot of math involved. Because often the first vote is received by a candidate of one of the bigger parties, but the second vote often goes to a smaller party. So everyone who has the most votes in the constituency has a seat in the Bundestag. But the parties also have lists of people that can fill the seats if their percentage is higher than the number of local candidates elected. Often candidates run in the local race and are on these lists. So this ensures that we have local and proportional representation. But there is another important thing, and this is overhang and balance seats. Because if one party gets more local representatives than it got seats in the election, the local candidates get into the Bundestag anyways as overhang seats, but the other parties get balance seats, so the proportion is still set. That's why the number of MPs is getting bigger and bigger, and that Germany has one of the biggest parliaments, with only China to have a bigger lower house in the world. But how exactly is the Chancellor elected? So far, it was all about local representatives and the parties. Well, that's because the Chancellor is elected by the Bundestag at one of its first meetings after the election. Most of the times, the candidate of the party with the most votes will be elected as Chancellor. But because it's not common for a party to get more than 50% of the votes, the parties have to work with other parties to get half of the people in the Bundestag to vote the same way. They work together for the whole period, and that is called a coalition. And we will take a closer look into that in one of the next episodes. But to get elected as Chancellor, the biggest party needs support to get above 50%. And sometimes it is possible for the second largest party to get a majority and therefore having their candidate elected. This hasn't happened very often, but this year it could be the case. But back to the voters. As I said, everyone above 18 with a German passport is allowed to vote and to be a candidate in this election, despite of where they live. Germans who live abroad have to register them as voters in the constituency they used to live in last, and they can vote on the candidate and parties in this district. They can also run for an office because you don't have to live in your constituency that you're running in. For example, Alice Weidel, the former head of the right-wing AfD party, lives in Switzerland and runs in the Lake Constance district. If you don't live abroad, you don't have to register at all, because everyone has to register in the town hall where they live, and if you move, you have to register that in the town hall within a few weeks. So you just get a letter home telling you that you are allowed to vote and where you can vote. You can also vote via mail. You have to fill out a form and send it to the town hall. Then they will send you your ballot. But the mail votes have to be in town hall at 6 p.m. on election day. You can also vote at the polling station on election day. The polling stations are open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and are often located in kindergartens or schools. You have to bring the letter the town hall sent you and your ID card, and then you're good to go. Alright, that was a lot of information, but now you know the basics to the German voting system. Next time we will take a look into the parties and what they stand for and who has the best chance in winning this election. If you like this podcast, please subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram at whatsup.germany, and you can find all the sources in the show notes. Thank you very much and goodbye.